Emil, Guillermo. I hate to keep sounding like a broken record, but who knows what a broken record sounds like these days? I mean, if you're a DJ, you know what a broken record sounds like. I mean, a DJ like 30, 40 years ago, like I was. But my show, Emil Amok 69, Wednesday, November 19th at the Marsh in San Francisco. The San Francisco Marsh. Yeah, that Marsh on Valencia, near where I grew up. And you're saying, Emil Amok 69, what is 69, Emil? Well, you know what 69 is. Oh, is this an Asian math joke? It's not an Asian math joke. Is it an Asian geometry joke? No, it's not an Asian geometry joke. It is Emil Amok 69, and you're just going to have to come see it to find out what it is. I have said it's about TDS. What's TDS, Emil? Well, if I got to tell you what TDS is, well, maybe you ought to come see the show. It's going to be a good show. It's a one night only, 7:30 on Wednesday the 19th at the San Francisco Marsh. Please don't. I got to show the Marsh that, I can't. I'm not running for supervisor or anything like that, but I got some pull in San Francisco, my hometown. I hope. I hope. Anyway, Wednesday, November 19th, at the Marsh in San Francisco, right down the block from where I went to elementary school, Edison Elementary. I was the editor of the Light Bulb, the mimeograph newspaper, right down the block from St. James Church on Fair Oaks. Yeah. Down the block from St. James School on Fair Oaks, St. James Church on Guerrero, 3 blocks away where I used to live, 20th and Guerrero, right? We had like 1, 2, 3. We had like 4 grocery stores in that corner. I mean, is that why I was, back growing up? We had 4 grocery stores on each corner. Anyway, Emil Amok's Takeout. This is this show. Emil Amok 69. That's the show at the Marsh. One night only. And I hope you can make it. There's ways. You can see the scroll if you're watching me. How to get tickets. If you want a freebie, contact me at amok.com. I'll get you a freebie if you need. I just want you to see me. Want you to see me do my thing. Some of you know me as a reporter. I do report the facts, but now I just want to have fun. So, I'm sort of doing my comedy thing, but there's a little drama here too. A little drama. All right. So today's show, and like I said, where we're talking about all things considerable, I'm going to talk about the emails. I know. Emil talking about the emails. I know it's a little confusing. We're going to talk about the 23,000 emails. Not all 23,000, but a few handpicked, select ones. The ones that say, oh my God, is this like a gift from heaven? Although, earlier in the week, you would have said, oh, we had a good week. And then on last week, right, with the election. And then we had a bad week on Sunday. They kind of capitulated. And then now they got the emails coming out. And then now we're up again. Politics in America. Anyway, Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez will be with me. We'll talk about that. Of course, we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the supervisor, the San Francisco, the historic Filipino supervisor in San Francisco. What happened? A week later, she's gone. She's out. And actually, that's a good thing to begin with. We'll begin with that. Then let me put my glasses on so I can touch the right buttons. Let's bring on Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez, my friend.
Good afternoon, sir, on this bright and sunny Friday.
Is it sunny out where you are?
It is sunny, and it's only around 59 degrees. It's, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So Dan, I brought you on. I thought this was significant because Bea Alcazar, or Alcarez, Alcarez.
You confused her with the Alcazar Theater. It's an old theater.
Or maybe the tennis player. Anyway, Alcarez. It was the first Filipino. Now she's no longer she's the first Filipino to exit. She was the first Filipino to arrive. Now she's the first Filipino to exit. I bring her up because she was also an SI alum. I'm a Lowell alum. You're an SI alum.
Yep.
You probably had great pride in seeing her. How do you feel now?
No, I had great questions
Yeah, great
when I saw
questions.
her.
Mhm.
Just because you went to SI don't make you smart.
Ah, that's right.
It
That's
means you're
right.
good enough to get in,
Mhm.
and she was good enough to get in and get out.
Yeah.
I was more interested in the fact that she was a mere 29 years old,
Mhm.
and also the big question for everyone that I know that I was able to contact on short notice
Mhm.
in City Hall and domain thereabout, as Shakespeare would say.
Mhm.
Um, I said, I don't know. I don't know, you know anything about her. I said, well, that's kind of bad news because
Yeah.
if you don't know, that means there's not been a mill around it, right? So there's no time
Yeah.
around her being identified,
Mhm.
much less being actually appointed. And then who vetted her, and so now we know, you know, that it's journalists that vetted her,
Yeah.
and the Standard particularly, which is I would say centrist or slightly right of center uh,
Well,
publication.
they went really nasty. I thought, well, look,
No, no,
here's
no.
the
I'm saying they're pretty factual. Most of,
yeah.
they might have a bias, and it might be
Mhm.
slightly to the right, but they're
Mhm.
very factual.
Yeah.
They stay on top of their game.
Well, look, you don't pay the rent, you pay your employees in a weird way, you have some financial issues, you have trouble with this store. What makes anyone think you're going to be a good supervisor managing, public monies and, being look, district supervisor means you're mostly, miss pothole. You're going to take care of potholes and take care of problems. But if you can't take care of your business, well, how effective you're going to be. So, they have a point, but here's my, I think I share some of your feelings. Why is this woman there? And, but, she's only interim, right? She's got to run at
That's
some
right.
point, like
Yeah.
within the year, she's got to
Whoever
run.
whoever is appointed next is going to have to face the same circumstances.
Well, but the thing is, if she's got to run, let Lurie make his choice and then let the person he chooses prove herself in this arena. And the voters will decide if she's good enough. And all this stuff would have come out as she runs. And I guess, Lurie just felt, okay, let's just cut ties right now. And he suggested she resign. And of course, what's she going to say? Yeah, I'll do whatever you say. I'm resigning. But that makes me think, wow, what a what a cynical move on Lurie's part to curry favor to a Filipino community that has had nothing, and that, I guess he figures I'll win the Asians by picking a Filipino, I'll pick an unqualified Filipino because then this person will be beholden to me. It was like he was grooming her to be a sycophant to him. And I thought that was really pretty obvious when you can't tell, who this, Bea person was. I mean, I was, really shrugging, saying, I don't know who she is. I guess it's great to be historic, but if you're not qualified, I mean, she was kind of Hegsethian in a way. Hegseth,
Oh God!
Hegseth is not
Oh
qualified to be
no!
Secretary of War or Secretary of Defense, but he is qualified to be a sycophant to Trump. And, he's hung in there. And no matter how much you throw, how much mud you throw at Hegseth, he survives because Trump wants him. Uh, Alcrez doesn't survive because ultimately Lurie doesn't care. That's what's troublesome. Point the fingers at Lurie.
Okay, well, okay. Look, Lurie
Hmm.
made the choice.
Yeah.
The question is, how did he make that choice? Did he just bump into her and decide, okay, this is a good?
Yes, he
No,
did
yeah,
bump into
no,
her.
that's come on, man. That's BS. She was recommended by somebody. All right.
Okay, yeah,
Okay.
right. She was,
Okay.
but
A lot.
but
Almost two
they
years
met.
ago. Okay. Almost 2 years ago, I had a brief conversation. I actually was part of a longer conversation, but the brief portion of that conversation was when this reporter, I won't give a name,
Okay.
but this reporter said to me, "Oh, you're Filipino." He goes, "You should be thinking about somebody for the supervisors." right? And I went through this in my head, and I said, okay, we got somebody who was up there and had an opportunity, and now I'm forgetting her name, but she was on a board of education for a while, and she would have been a good choice. She was good,
Oh,
she was
yeah.
fair on the board of education, and then she left town. She went, she and her husband went for a bit better gig outside San Francisco. So I said, well, that's good, and I'm trying to think who could be in line for this, and I couldn't think of anybody, but there was a suggestion, right, that there might be a Filipino. Now I was thinking, okay, in the Excelsior, there's a possibility of finding some leaders in there, but I'd have to work on that. I'd have to ask around and see who's ready and willing to go.
Yeah.
And there are people who would have stood a vetting, an initial vetting, much better than Alcaraz. Okay.
Yeah.
So somebody suggested her. He didn't make that decision and just pick her out of blue sky, man. I mean, bumping into her.
No, but the story is that she bumped into him at some public event, made the pitch to him, and he needed someone in the Sunset. This looked like a win-win. It was the wrong person, and
I think you were right about intimating that they wanted a Filipino, and I find it very curious that this person, a reporter working right now, writes for some of the sources that we're citing. Okay, asked that question of me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, here's a lot of people, like you point out, a lot of qualified Filipinos don't live in San Francisco anymore. They were there, they left.
There are qualified people now. Okay, so one of your other questions were, are there people? Why aren't there? Was one of the questions that you asked.
Yeah.
I don't know if we were on air yet, but you asked why aren't there? And there are Filipinos who I think would be qualified to run. Unfortunately, whenever one of the things that we've been seeing lately is that former staffers, right, who worked for well-established members of Congress, members of the state legislature, they have been running, and they have been running effectively. Okay. Good examples in San Mateo County, for example. Okay.
Yeah.
Now that also occurs in San Francisco. There are staffers, Filipino American staffers, or former staffers. We have community leaders, EOs, executive officers of nonprofits, right? That also could run. There are people who have run campaigns for successful candidates. They would be qualified to do this. So it's an open question. Then the issue is, why aren't these people moving forward? Okay, and the answer is lack of organization. There's a lack of organization within San Francisco City and County that would advance a few names, okay, and where people could come to an agreement.
All right, here's the thing, Dan. I brought this up because not just because it's the news, but because historically, both you and I have been in this position where, we could have come up with names very easily. I was a reporter. You're a very high official within the Filipino American Democratic Club in San Francisco. And back then, the names, there weren't that many names, but there were qualified names. We had, we know Dick Cerbatos, who was on the Board of Education.
Until he was forced off by an action that came out of the Euro-Anglo community. Also, Rod McLeod, he was named as a replacement for Dick Cerbatos by then Mayor Feinstein.
And we also know that the trajectory, McLeod could have been supervisor, and we're both friends with Rod. He ran later for judge and didn't win, and now he retired, and he's now moved from San Francisco. But the point is, we were part of a mechanism You know, you talked about organization. There was an organization that that could have come up with names then. What happened to the organization now?
Well, it still exists. The FADC still exists. I am not as active, or I actually haven't been active at all within the framework of the FADC for at least 15 years.
Mhm.
I've tried to be an observer. A new generation has taken over the leadership of that organization. And in my opinion, they were very capable. So I just haven't been in contact with them. I will get into contact with them. In fact, I'm going to be meeting with a couple of people today. I have a cocktails appointment later this afternoon,
Mhm.
um, right downtown. So it's going to be people from City Hall that I meet with today.
Well, so what's the thing? You know, Alcaraz is out. Does Lurie dare appoint another Filipino, or does he listen to different people, or is this the chance that Filipinos had that no longer exists?
Yeah, I think if I were him, I'd stay away from the Filipinos for a while. So we may have it's not a I mean, it's none of our faults. This is just something that came out of the Sunset District.
Yeah.
I don't know who else was behind the recommendation, but this is really sloppy. This reflects badly on Lurie, and reflects badly on SI for that matter. It reflects badly on obviously Bea Alcaraz, and it reflects badly on the community. This is what we have to offer.
We're reconnecting. Oh, there you are. All right. So you were
Yeah,
talking about how it reflects badly on people.
Yeah, it reflects badly on everybody directly involved, and indirectly it reflects badly on the status of the Filipino American community.
Yeah, and more people have been leaving San Francisco. There's not as many Filipinos. Usually the people who come in to San Francisco from the Philippines or come into the Bay Area, their first stop is usually south of Market, places like that. And then
the Excelsior district as well.
Excelsior now.
And Daly City.
Yeah. And, you look for people in the community, and the community there's a little mini diaspora within the diaspora in the Bay Area. So, you say, well, where's the Filipino community? Like Union City, Fremont, Oakland, Alameda, Daly. And then I haven't even gotten to Daly City, but is it Vallejo? Is it Daly City? And of course, there's a mayor in Daly City, and we have Filipino operatives in San Mateo on the peninsula. But the city has been almost, in a way, abandoned.
Yeah,
and it's too bad. Well, here's the other thing, and this is a point. This sunk Alcaraz. She wasn't bulletproof, and you got to be bulletproof these days to run for political office. If you're not bulletproof, then someone will pick at things like, well, what kind of records do you have? Let's look at your public records. Let's look at, you had, your pet store smelled like, fecal matter. Oh, that's not good. You had trouble with the rent. That's not good. I mean, you got to be so clean these days, because if the mayor doesn't find anything as he vets, well, then your political opponents, who are wondering, who are you? Where did you come from? They will do the digging, and they'll provide information, which is what I suspect happened. They'll provide information to the media, and then they'll report it. They'll say, hey, did you know that, he did this and this and this in his public records? Oh, we didn't know that. That's the political game now. And it's not like you have to be a saint, because we know we have good examples that you don't have to be a saint to rise in politics. Right? I mean, the president of the United States is no saint. So that's in the background of, of one's mind when you consider what's happening locally. Oh, Lurie has to dump her now because of some of the things that have come out. Look at the things that have come out about Hegseth. Look at the things that have come out about all his, Trump's appointees. Sexual dalliances.
Well, yeah, but you're ignoring the, again, organizational foundation. The reason that people like Bondi and Hegseth and everybody else in Mr. Trump's cabinet exist is because there's this broader organizational foundation, right? There's a bottom. It's not only his base, it's the 76% today, 76% of the Republican Party, people who come out and say, I vote Republican, I am registered as a Republican. That's his foundation. Okay.
All right.
We don't have that in San Francisco right now. That's why I'm meeting with people this evening. You know, the kind of questions that came up when we did our thing, a couple weeks ago,
at the library.
You know, it's very obvious that those are the issues that the Filipino community itself, admittedly, a little more motivated and politically, let's say, savvy group of people. But that's who you're hoping that our audience is, right?
Yeah, but
we get a lot of bad press, we get a lot of criticism, or a significant amount of criticism, but we like to think that our audience is a little better informed about factual matters, right?
Yeah, but Dan, what gets me is that Lurie, if he wanted to back her up, he could have. He could have backed her up. He could have said something as simple as, that was then, this is now. She's in office. She has a chance to prove herself. Let's see, and then the voters can decide. But he didn't want to do that. He could have.
Well, yeah, I just told you. If it were me, I would have asked her to resign. It's just it's just not worth the hassle. It's not worth the hassle. When you see stinky poo poo, don't step in it. Don't avoid contact.
Right? Well, okay, you called her stinky poo poo, but I would have given her a chance to say, look, the voters should decide. I'm not going to force her out because I'm Mayor Lurie. I've just appointed her. Let the voters decide, and then we'll abide by that. And the voters probably would have seen all this come out later.
Absolutely,
that would have looked good.
He wanted to avoid the smear. Big smear. You don't want to be anywhere near that. Okay.
All right, so poor Alcaraz, she's gone. Poor Filipino community. We're both Filipinos. I guess the natural thing for the Sunset is, look, there's so many Asian Americans in the Sunset. Is there not an Asian American Democrat in the Sunset?
Well, San Francisco, let's quote San Francisco Standard again. One of the questions that they asked several months ago, it may have been earlier this year, but I think it was late last year, was why is the Chinese political participation, political presence, less influential these days? Why is it decreasing? And that question was being asked while Chinatown was going through an assertion of its rebirth, right? And saying, right. Oh yeah, people coming back in, we're celebrating our increase in business, and we're doing better now, and we want to encourage more, and all that, right? And this is part of the way Lurie got himself elected, right? By getting the Chinatown community.
Well, why is that? I mean, we know why the Chinatown folks were powerful players, and it usually has to do with a couple of people who had the ear of the powerful. I'm talking about people like Rose Pack. I'm talking people like, who they had the ear of the machine. People who knew the community, but they also ran into some problems. Some of those folks, but they were political players.
Yes.
Do we not have a generation coming up? I guess none of us have a deep bench. Is that it?
Yeah. I think people see. You just mentioned earlier that you better be clean, okay? Yeah. And because if you've done anything wrong, if especially if something there's formal documentation, or any kind of complaint, you better be clean. And I know full well that's one of the reasons that some of the Filipinos that have had appointed office in the past, that's one of the reasons they didn't want to run for higher office.
Well, it's Mario Cuomo all over again, right? Mario run for president. No. I'll let my sons go and embarrass themselves, Yeah. But I mean, this is the thing. And this shouldn't be the thing in politics, but it does become a self-assigning kind of thing where a self-selected thing where, look, you assign yourself if you think you're good enough, and if you're not, because you can't stand the scrutiny, then you stand off to the side and you let the others. But it shouldn't be that way in politics. Like I said, it shouldn't be just all the virtuous angels, although ethical angels, but we know even that's not true when you look at the rise of people like Trump and the rise of so many corrupt politicians now. Um, anyway, I it's going to take a while for Filipinos to make history
Well,
again. But now,
look at what's happening now. The latest guy, Swalwell, right? The latest,
yeah,
be
Morgan,
given notice, right? That
yeah,
he's up for criminal prosecution. I mean, people realize that you can get, this is the equivalent of high end swatting,
yeah,
using the judicial system. And the thing that cracks me up is the irony is, right, that the people who are saying government has been weaponized, right? The
yeah,
DOJ has been weaponized. They're the people who've been doing it, right?
yeah.
They were, and then
What,
so they allege that because they want retroactive effect on the Biden and Obama administration, saying all of the prosecutions that these people originated were politically motivated, right? And they had no
yeah,
basis in fact.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's a good segue into the bigger question about the emails, because the latest now is that uh, Donald Trump is now pointing the fingers at the Democrats, and all the Democrats who were mentioned in the emails, the 23,000 emails that were released the other day, and he says nothing about the fact that the most damning emails are those that mention him. I mean, the most important one, and this is the one I'm sure you've seen this, where it's Jeffrey Epstein sent it to um, Landon Thomas Jr. on 3/24/2018, and he says he's talking about Trump, in his first year, and he says he feels alone and is nuts. I told everyone from day one, evil beyond belief, mad, and most thought I was speaking metaphorically. It's obvious he could crack. Stormy Daniels, lies after lies after lies. I mean, this is an email where Jeffrey Epstein, this is weird when all that we know about Jeffrey Epstein, and he's calling Donald Trump evil. I mean,
Yeah, I think there's another one that said, I've met some very, very bad people, but no one as bad as him.
yeah. I mean, this is, I think, really incredible. And then there was another email that he sent to Michael Wolff, who doesn't come, I mean, he's a conduit, he's a reporter, but he talks about Mar-a-Lago, and there's some redactions, and he said, Trump said he asked me to resign, meaning Epstein, never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls, as he asked Ghislaine to stop. And so,
Yeah, the question is, what does that mean? What is
yeah,
he knew about the girls?
he knows
Okay.
he knows that the situation. He knows about he knows about the situation. He's evil. These emails. All right, in a court of law, you still have to prove some things, but in the court of public opinion, what do you need to know to sway your opinion about Donald Trump? I think we've got it here, and certainly the public opinion polls are pretty clear that right now, this is an AP Norc poll. Uh, Trump's government management approval by Republicans, it was 81% in March of 2025. It's down to 68%. So it's dropped, and I mean, this is not a direct question on Epstein, but people's idea about Trump being able to lead, being able to be president has dropped. I think next week we're going to see a lot of Republicans voting to reveal, to unload
Oh yeah,
the
absolutely. Yeah.
Epstein files.
Oh, they have to take into consideration what their constituency is like. What is their home constituency like?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the difference is, for senators, they have to think in statewide terms. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
members of the lower house of Congress, right, the House of Reps, they can think in district terms.
Yeah.
And so the gerrymandering, especially in red states, right, is so severe
Mm-hmm.
that the members of the lower house can see themselves as less likely of being attacked, okay, from the left effectively, right? What they have to worry about is being attacked from the right. In other words, somebody running in a primary against them from the Republican side. And that's what they're afraid of. The senators, on the other hand, they're looking at a statewide condition. That's a little more difficult to ascertain. Okay. And 30% of them are up in 26. So it's going to be very interesting. And of course, even though it's a close majority, right? It's not a large majority of the Senate. If they lose more than 3 races, they're done in the Senate. Okay. And most people think, and I tend to agree, right, that the lower house, in all probability, without the kind of behavior that Greg Abbott and the Texas legislature are doing, he's even meeting resistance now. I've heard that there's resistance even from Republicans in Texas, in the state legislature, to going ahead and gerrymandering those five districts to give them an advantage. If they're thinking about that, other red states are also thinking about the consequences, okay, in the local elections.
Well, I mean, but a lot of it is just, there's a kind of, I called it, when the Democrats won decisively on election day, the recent election, right? I called it Liberation Day for the Republicans. Liberation Day for the Republicans to come forward and say, forget Trump. We are through with carrying your water. We're going to grow a spine. It's Grow a Spine Day for Republicans.
Okay, that opportunity was there. But once again, you're this fantastic optimist.
Yeah, I'm an optimist, but here's what happened. Then the Democrats sort of gave in. And they said, okay, we're going to agree to close it, to end the shutdown. And then the very next day, the gift comes out, the email. So I think we're kind of moving toward a certain liberation for some Republicans to come forward to vote to release the Epstein files.
Was it a gift or was it strategy? Well, look at the timing, right? What a hell of a coincidence, that members of the committee in the lower house of Congress, right, released these emails. They've had those emails. They knew what the content was, right? And the election a couple of weeks ago, right, gave them obvious permission to set up a tactical response and a longer strategy as well. So the people who said, we're going to vote with the Republican senators, right? They were doing the right thing. You got to worry about timing, okay? Yeah. You do not want to extend the pain that's being suffered by federal employees already, okay? And now by the general population around SNAP, around food, around those basic benefits, you're going to extend that? That would be really silly. Got to take the signal from the unions. Okay, and they're not the hard left, and got to take signals from the consumer organizations.
But it made Trump look more evil, and now this on top of it.
Yes.
So you're saying
Johnson looks like a stupid fool. If you don't, for us on the left, okay, and even for centrists, if you're a logical, thinking independent, and you look at what Johnson's been doing. He looks like he has run up his own anus. I mean, he really has. Okay.
I mean, because he gave up his spine. He only has an anus. He has no spine. He gave up his
Christianity. Yeah. The only thing he has left is white nationalism.
Yeah. Hire all the Nazis now. I'm American Nazis. That's what we're having.
He's too stupid to be a fascist.
Yeah. Well, that's true. He needs to be told, but that's where Trump comes. That's where J.D. Vance comes in. J.D. Vance, he's saying nothing about this. The Republicans are saying nothing except they're pointing.
He's standing clear.
They're saying, "Oh, the Democrats. Look at the surprising thing about the Democrats in the emails is the people who are on the Jeffrey Epstein emails, like Lawrence Summers, now I know why Jeffrey Epstein liked to wear Harvard T-shirts so much. He was corresponding with the former president of Harvard. and then
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about Dershowitz and talking, nasty stuff about Donald Trump. Like, I think, Jeffrey Epstein was playing all of them, and none of them knew they were being played. And then I think, I don't know, I can't speculate what happened in the jail, to Epstein, but he's gone. But his words now come back to haunt the Democrats, and maybe this is a strategy that'll work for the Republicans. I don't think so, because it's worse for the Republicans.
No, you know, in order to stop any likelihood that they'll sink even further, they have to vote in favor of, they got to
Release,
do it. Yes, they have to release everything, man.
release the files.
Well,
Yeah,
look, what the Democrats were able to find and what they released was gotten via the committee, okay,
yeah,
inside the House. And
yeah.
it was not anything to do with the stuff that the DOJ has been holding on to, okay?
Right,
The stuff came from the estate, right?
right, right. And
The estate.
the
And they've been
estate,
very cooperative.
right. And the estate cooperated when one of the congressmen here's my take on this is Ro Khanna has been the guy who's been very big on getting these assets.
He's one of the
from
guys.
the estate. One of
He's
the guys.
one of the guys. Garcia also.
Robert Garcia. But here's the thing. I have always been critical about Ro Khanna, and now I'm going to try to be bigger. I'm trying to be equanimous and say I had a kind of loyalty in a way to Mike Honda. I don't know why. Well, I know. I know why.
I had a good relationship with him.
I like Honda, but would Honda have gotten the emails? I don't know. What do you think? Would Honda have gotten the emails?
Maybe.
Don't know.
He was not the kind of guy he wasn't aggressive about legislating.
Yeah, he wasn't an email guy. He was a name a post office. He was a work for your constituents.
That's right.
He was a pothole, on the ground grassroots guy. He was a good fundraiser, and he had seniority, and that's the reason why you like the older guys in Congress. They have seniority. You're loyal to them.
Well, he had personal integrity,
Personal integrity, yes,
and political integrity, and he also had a really good staff. They were very responsive. So, yeah, I mean, there were a lot of things to like. I also resented it when Khanna went after him.
And when Khanna did not give the respect.
Yeah, he went after him unsuccessfully twice. He won on the third time around. I was concerned, although when he won, Khanna's position on a lot of the issues was really very good. I think that's the reason he won. That and they put out some dirt on Honda just getting old. I mean, he was paying.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, this was a thing back then, about 9-10 years ago. It happened in Hawaii also. Ed Case going after Senator Akaka, and Case lost, but Case is back now in Congress.
Right. He's in.
So yeah, he's in. I mean, ultimately, things work out, but when
we got an Anglo-American governor again. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when this is the problem. I think when I like the fact that there's a line and people respect that, but I can see young men in a hurry trying to cut and trying to make their mark. It's happening again now that Pelosi is stepping down, and frankly, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know who's going to. Is it Scott Wiener who's going to be the guy?
That's the name that I hear mentioned the most, and he has unfortunately, in the Democratic regime, seniority means a lot.
Yeah, it does. But one thing. I mean, I mentioned this in the column I wrote the other day, and that okay, Wiener's all right, but what happened to David Chu? I know he's city attorney. I know he's got a cush job as city attorney, but
he's really good.
David's
really good.
I've known David for a long time, and I think he got screwed by this whole thing. When when people do not play by the agreement. I mean, look, love Ed Lee, the late Ed Lee, the mayor of San Francisco, but he was an interim, was appointed. It was agreed that he was not going to run again, and then he ran.
Right.
And I'm just saying, Ed Lee won, David Chu lost, but I think I think David Chu is worth mentioning. I don't think he.
I thought David was. I thought they painted. They did. You notice that there no dirt came up.
Yeah.
Against either Lee or Chu. Okay.
Yeah.
But Chu was clearly painted as being far more progressive on many issues by his past votes in the legislature. Right.
Yeah.
So that's how Ed Lee was advantaged. Right.
Yeah.
He was also. There were questions about relationships to business, right, in San Francisco. And you were already seeing like the big businesses leaving, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it got really bad because of COVID. I mean, there was a major COVID effect.
Well, but you know, David Chu was really strong in that. I mean, he was the one that brought he was behind the Twitter thing, you know, coming to San Francisco.
Well, the whole market renovation thing. Yeah.
So I think David's worth a shout out. I don't know, my column, you know, talking about it. I don't know if it really, if anyone really cares, but I'm going to mention it because I think he was worthy to replace Pelosi. Anyway, we're talking about Pelosi because you know she announced her retirement, and you know, how did we got to Pelosi from the emails. The email vote is next week. It's going to be released, and once it's released, it's got to be more problems for the Republicans, right? I mean, they only got 23,000, but there's going to be more files. Yeah. Are they just going to redact the heck out of the files? Is that it?
They're going to try. They're going to try. They're going to be pointing fingers all over the place, and you know, if they can find stuff that runs Bill Clinton up a tree. Yeah. If they can find stuff, I mean, you know, the fun thing about all of this is that Joe Biden and Barack Obama are going to end up looking like ethical and moral people.
Yeah.
And everybody
that's
else.
The thing. That's the thing. Once you pass that high bar, you are sort of in the clear. Yeah. People snipe at you, but
their bar of morality and ethical consciousness, right,
yeah,
is almost as high as your bar for optimism.
Yeah. I want to be optimistic. You know, I don't want to be a downer. I mean, I'm a realist. I just want to be real. And I'm saying realist rather than pragmatist, okay? Okay. Well, look,
because if it was purely pragmatic, I would be like the United States of America. You're my enemy if it costs me, and you're my friend if it profits me. Okay, that's American pragmatism, right? You know?
That's Donald Trump, man. I mean, he's becoming more pragmatic. He's like lifting the tariffs on bananas and coffee. Like, you know, we knew that was going to be a bad idea, but you know, he's people eat bananas and coffee. I guess I gotta lift the tariff. I mean, this is how bananas.
Yeah, he's got to lighten up on chocolate too. Damn it.
Yeah, this is the thing about Trump and the way he works is always like he's like last in, first out. He's a LIFO guy, you know. The last person to talk to him comes out policy. Oh, I better lift the tariffs on this and listen. You shouldn't have put tariffs on anything because the tariffs are taxes.
Yeah, I just wish people would say, you know, the guy's really brilliant at things. You know, could you please stop saying that? You know, because it's not brilliant. You know,
and this is why we put on here in the corner here. We put this this drawing that he did of the woman. This is the birthday book drawing with his signature. We put that on just to remind people that, you know, it's not just the emails. It's just everything. It's everything about this guy. It's everything about this guy that we should be looking at. And
he's really, really creepy. Yeah. And I used to think, you know, if Nixon gets elected, this is back in '68, right? If Nixon gets elected, after everything that we already know, I mean, take a look at the guy. I wouldn't even buy a car from this
Oh,
dude, used new or
yeah.
otherwise. Just look at the dude, right? And then go back to his response when they said, "Well, you're going to give up checkers, right? Checkers."
Yeah.
No, Patricia has grown so fond of little checkers, and
Oh, come on.
it
The
was about
checker
how about all
speech.
the other stuff that you accepted as gifts, man.
You're bringing
Don't
up
give me the Cocker Spaniel,
eh,
And they
Dan,
bought
Dan.
it, man. They bought the whole thing. And who
I know.
ends up being the big ass liar? And who ends up getting away with it because he was advised by his own party? You got to go. It's going to mess things up really bad. You
Hey,
can get out clean now. Just resign now. No prosecution. Okay? And then we'll get the little guy to pardon you. Well, guess what? Okay? What's the pattern? And you know what I was being told while I was in law school? There's pardon power has never been used in that fashion. And I said, are you familiar with the word precedent? You know how things become precedent?
Yeah.
This will be the precedent. And everybody looked at me like I was some kind of crazy ass radical. Yeah. And I was, right? I am now, but by that standard. But who was right? Who was right?
Well, this is the thing. That's why the commentators who are mentioning Gerald Ford, the commentators who are bringing up Watergate, it's not just because we are old enough to remember. It's the fact that it is true. The pattern is there. The historical pattern is there.
It's a really clear pattern.
Yeah, and that's why J.D. Vance is mum. J.D. Vance is mum.
Yeah, well,
but I remember
with what's her name, Ellen. What's her first name? Charlie Kirk's widow.
Yeah, Charlie Kirk. Yeah. Well, this is the thing about you mentioned Watergate. You mentioned when I was a young guy, a high schooler, I was out there selling McGovern T-shirts. And I said, I was really
another weak ass candidate.
Well, yeah, but he was a guy running against Nixon, and the point is,
he was moral, he was ethical, and he was really weak campaigner.
Yeah, but the point is, all the stuff about Nixon had already come out, and the thought was, well, could America vote this guy in, Nixon, and a young. This is where I learned my optimism, I guess. I was aghast that America went in a landslide for Nixon, knowing what it did, and that has harmed me, scarred me for most of my life. It's true. Yeah. I mean, the fact that I couldn't believe that, knowing what you know about Watergate, even into the election, and everything was out there, people still voted for Nixon. That I've never forgotten that.
Well, there's a thing called the Vietnam War that was going on, right?
Oh yeah.
And his status on that, the assistance that he was getting from Kissinger, you can't, there were these great arguments happening both directly and indirectly between Brzezinski and Kissinger, and that's where I learned a lot. I was at the time an undergrad in international relations and political science. And so those arguments are things that you can revisit today. In fact, there was a recent book done, a bio on Brzezinski, and I have it. I haven't read it yet, but I have it, and I'm recommending it to other people because the arguments that he made at the time, right, are really effective now. And so he looks pragmatic at first, right, in terms of the way that he analyzes U.S. relations with other countries. But underlying that pragmatism are a hard set of basic principles. They're based on American democracy.
All right, you're talking about Brzezinski, not Donald Trump.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, Donald Trump has no principles. Hey, speaking of which,
yes, he does. Yes, he does. He has a principle. His principle is, do I look good? And does it enrich me? Those are his two major principles.
Right. Am I making money off this? And so what about this whole Venezuela thing? Venezuela is arming up. We got allies not sharing intel with us because they don't trust us. Colombia, and we're bombing these boats without.
Yeah, Colombia's right next door.
Yeah, and we're bombing these boats without congressional approval. That's got to be against the law. These are acts of war. Venezuela is arming up and saying, "Hey, this is American imperialism," and it does remind you a little bit about 1898, doesn't it? Or
sure. Sure.
1902.
Yeah, well, this is all Monroe Doctrine, right? Is
Yeah.
the United States has to. This is our closest sphere of self defense. So we got to take care of all of that. We have to build strong, not only strong relations, but powerful relations. Clearly, establishing supremacy, military supremacy on a broad regional basis. So this helps with that. Okay. Also, you can't forget, Venezuela has for years been engaged in lawsuits as defendants and also as plaintiffs against large oil companies.
Mm.
Back in the 70s, Standard Oil was constantly in court, right? Filing cases against Venezuela for breach of contract. It's unbelievable the amount of time. Then that was almost it's over 60 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
So people are unaware of these histories because American media doesn't pay attention to this stuff
Yeah.
unless something erupts.
We don't
You know?
cover Latin America. I was up for a job in Chile at one point in my career. And I was looking for, well, who's covering Chile? I'd be in Santiago. Who's covering any
Yeah,
of this?
yeah, yeah.
No one. No, I mean,
Nobody.
it's like and the, I don't think the most anyone knows about Venezuela in San Francisco is that, oh, isn't Pablo Sandoval from Venezuela? Isn't the panda? Oh, yeah, that's what you mean by panda politics? So I mean, I think I mention it because it's in the news, but it's a very small part of the news. Hey, let's just switch gears back to domestic stuff because Donald Trump. I was watching the split screen, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, the tri-screen, two of them talking about the emails being released. Then when the story broke, the Fox was talking about affordability, and because they can't afford to talk about the emails. If they talk about the emails, they get screwed. So,
well, see the irony again. Okay, let's start with the first irony. The first irony is they've always been claiming affordability, or in some form or another. We are responsible for encouraging the economic engine of America, right? We're the richest country in the world. We know how to do business, right? Okay, and then we're for small business. Remember how they were always making that argument? We're for small business, and the small businesses are the employers. These are the people who employ the majority of working people in American society. So we're for small business, and then they would vote down the funding for SBA loans, right? So they're doing this stuff and sneaking around, right? Saying one thing to the public and then doing things even without policy, right? They would just do these things when people weren't looking, and you would know what was happening on the ground. How about their taxes? Their tax reform issues, right? We're going to reform taxes, man. You're going to pay less if you're. And then I was looking at all of the tax bills, and I said, who's paying less, right? It's only the super working poor, right? And the lower middle class that's paying less. The upper middle class and the middle class, we're paying more.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about the affordability issue. You have these things that make it look like it's affordable, like if you pay no money or you pay less money.
Oh my God.
Right? And I mention this because this is the Medicare season. And you can switch until December 7th.
Yeah.
And people who can switch, they might say, "Oh, I'm paying too much for my supplement, or I'm paying too much." They get hooked by this Medicare Advantage idea.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Medicare Advantage. Oh, I don't have to pay a premium. Oh, I don't have to pay anything. It's essentially free. I get the free gym. They get hung up on all these little things, but they don't realize that Medicare Advantage isn't. Yeah, it's not Medicare. You take yourself out, and if you don't take Medicare when you first are allowed, then you have to go through underwriting. Because everyone, when they first get in, gets Medicare. You get everything they without any kind of underwriting. But as soon as you say, "Oh, I'm going to go with the Advantage plan because I don't want to pay premiums," and then you say, "Oh, now I'm sick. Now I gotta switch because I need a better plan." you want to go to Medicare, they'll underwrite you, and you may not get in, and you may get it at a higher rate because
Well,
you know.
the least that's going to happen typically, right,
Yeah.
is that your copay will go up. That's
Yeah.
the least that will happen.
But you know, you might not get in. You
That's
know,
right.
the underwriting, right, will put you at a higher rate
That's the
because
worst that could happen.
now suddenly, you know, you
Yeah.
got a pre-existing condition, or you have you have something on your record. I just don't like the fact that right now you're seeing all these ads when you watch the news. You got ads for disease fighters, and right now during the Medicare system or Medicare season, you've got these pitches for Medicare Advantage. There's no advantage. The advantage is to the corporates. This was Congress's way to allow corporations to get in on the Medicare game.
Yes.
Yeah, to steal
Yes, it was.
customers. To steal
Yes, it was.
customers.
And
You
that's
know,
one of the things. That's one of the things that the Democrats were trying to address when they say there are fixes that we need to do to Obamacare, to ACA. That's what they mean. Okay, that's not what the Republicans mean when they say we need to fix Obamacare. Okay,
Yeah.
and they have been saying they have fixes, right? And remember, Trump was saying 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, and he kept
Yeah.
saying 2 weeks until we ran out of weeks, and he was out of office, right?
Yeah,
You know?
no,
Nothing.
he's got.
And now
Yeah,
today they got nothing. They still have nothing.
they want to get rid of it. I mean, all
Yes.
these court cases to try to get rid of
No kidding.
Obamacare
Wow.
and the
Is that
ACA.
it?
So I just think that you know, we got to mention when they talk about affordability, the Republicans have no credibility, but also the Republicans, you know, they're not they're interested in the corporates being able to afford taking advantage of poor people, taking advantage of working class people. Medicare Advantage is kind of a sham, and it just is not. You know, you think you're getting a deal, but you get sick, and you want, you know, you want the best coverage. You gave up on the best coverage when you chose Medicare Advantage over a Medicare supplement. So anyway, but
Okay.
to move.
Have we covered 50-year mortgage yet?
No, I'm going to move into
okay.
that now. The affordability, because this is what 50-year
It's
mortgages are.
It's another
You
great
know,
idea.
You know, it looks like a good idea. You're going to pay less, but you know you're
Oh,
on for
damn.
longer, and because of the way interest rates work, you know, the interest on your money, your house is going to be, you know, you're not going to get equity build up on your house as fast, and the amount you pay ultimately is going to be maybe double what you
That's
would
right.
have paid,
That's right.
you know, by going in to do a 50-year mortgage. And that really, it's kind of a shyster thing. It's kind of a salesman thing, and it's something that you'd expect from a sales guy like Trump. And when people said we want a businessman to run our government, they didn't really mean we want a salesman to sell us a bill of goods that we get screwed over, but that's what it means.
Okay, what went public? What went public? About a month ago, right? What went public was that the younger generations cannot afford to buy a home. Okay, and then they compare it to the generation previous, and they said, you know, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, the median age for a first-time buyer of a home, whatever kind of home, right? Whether it be an apartment or a single-family dwelling, okay, it was 29 years old, and now it's 40. Okay, 40 years old. That's the median first-time buyer. Okay, the typical real estate purchaser is the age group is now 59 years old. So that means that only people who already own, right, and people who already are at the senior level of either they're in retirement or their senior level of their job, of their employment or their salary level. Okay, and those are the people that are participating in the and that came out too, but people don't understand that part, right? That it is the people who are in the upper 20%, right, that constitute all of the purchasing, right, and the lifting of the capitalist system in American society. Everybody else is barely making it, right? Yeah. It's not only the working poor that's barely making it. It's everybody up to the middle class that are barely making it.
Yeah, yeah, and
So 50 years is really going to help, right? So if you're working, let's say you're younger than 40. Let's say you're 35 and you're trying to buy, right? Let's say you're 30. That's only a year older than 29, right? And you're
mhm.
trying to buy 50-year mortgage. Okay, what's the deadline? No pun intended, right? What's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
deadline?
yeah.
80 years old you're going to be.
Oh,
That's if
you'll be
you're
dead
buying it at 30, okay?
if you make it that far, and then your heirs will inherit not equity, not
How big is the
some
equity?
great.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right. And
yeah.
can they afford to pay it off? Can they
Your
afford? Can
heirs,
the heirs afford to pay it off?
yeah, your heirs will inherit your debt, and
Yeah.
that's the way it is. That's the way the banks want it, to inherit debt. So anyway,
Yeah.
50-year mortgage, bad idea. But here's one thing that came up recently. Also, the idea of portable mortgages, which I don't know how exactly it would work, but it sounds like if you already have a mortgage, can you use that? Can you like use it to buy another house? I don't know, but that idea sounds like in the days when interest rates were high, like 16%, 17%, people had all these cockamamie ways to get you to buy a house, like you know
Yep.
wrap loans and
Yeah. Yeah.
all these kind
Oh.
of things that
Oh. Interest only.
oh
The
yeah,
big.
pay interest
Yes. Interest
only,
only loans.
right?
3 to 5 years, and then you
Yeah,
you know you don't have to pay on the principal until the fifth year, right?
yeah,
And
and
then
then you'll
and
lose
what
your house.
happened? What happened to all of those people who thought, you know what? I could buy multiple properties. I
It's
could
like
buy
Monopoly.
multiple properties
It's like
and
Monopoly.
and I only have to pay on the interest, and the value of the property is going up so fast that even after 3 years, I'll be able to sell them. I'll be able to sell them, and I'll make a profit because the increase in value is like 10% a year. So
See,
I get a 30% increase in value over 3 to 5 years. I could just be rid of the property, and we'll be that far ahead. We'll even be able to pay off our original home, right?
See,
What
Dan,
happened?
you think I'm so optimistic? I am not so optimistic to buy that line of bullshit. I was. I mean, I know other people who were, but
Yes, yes.
I know it.
Many people in our community were. They put their businesses and their original first homes, their primary homes up, took out more loans and bought more properties. I told them, don't do it. They even
Yeah,
went to other states. Remember when they went to Vegas and they were buying property in
yeah,
Vegas and in Reno? Yeah,
yeah,
you don't do it, right?
yeah,
And they're looking at me like, why not?
yeah,
And then what happened? BKs went up, right?
yeah,
80,
yeah,
81, 82, 83, bankruptcies like crazy. Right?
yeah. Well, I'm telling you, you got to watch out now because people are susceptible. They'll hear something, they'll think, oh, maybe this is the answer. Affordability. If the Republicans are talking about affordability, that's bad. It's only because they can't
Yeah,
afford
yeah.
to talk about the emails,
If it
the
comes out of
Epstein
their face,
emails.
if it comes
Yeah,
out of a Republican face, distrust.
yeah.
Distrust. Okay,
It's
it's
not
as
for them.
simple as that.
So
If it comes out of a Democratic face, distrust, right?
distrust too,
Don't
but
trust him. You already don't trust government. Why are you gonna? Why are you gonna trust someone, right? Who's part of that institution?
yeah,
Check it out first, right? Now, the Fed, right, is not
mhm,
is not going to lower interest rates any further, right? They're going to keep things where they are right now because of
mhm,
the instability, right? What's the cause of the instability? The primary cause is Trump and tariffs, right? He keeps doing this cha-cha. He
yeah.
keeps saying, I'm going to lower it here, I'm going to raise it there. Oops, they just did something I don't like. I'm going to call it a threat to national security, and we're going to raise tariffs on that
It's an
stuff, right?
emergency. It's an
We're gonna an
emergency.
emergency. Everything's look at
Everything's an emergency.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. He's
Okay.
got to do it. I mean, but it's an emergency when he put the tariffs on. It's an emergency when people complained about bananas and coffee. He takes them off.
Well,
It's
he,
all
he
an
may be
emergency.
provoking. He may be actually provoking a real emergency if Venezuela, if some some general or admiral, if Venezuelan admiral fires off a missile. If they
Yeah.
shoot anything at, that's adequate provocation for not only a naval attack but also land invasion.
See,
So let's see what happens.
I
Yeah.
think we've got to be pretty serious about this stuff
Oh,
because,
no kidding.
but the thing is, people forget we bombed Iran.
Yeah.
We bombed Iran in the summertime.
Yeah,
and look at what's happened since. Nothing.
we,
Not really. I mean, and
well,
you know, and
they
we,
bombed us back. They
yeah,
bombed us back. They bombed us back, but they told us when they were going to do it and where they were going to do it.
yeah,
Okay, so it was
yeah,
demonstrative. It was
yeah.
demonstrative. We
See
had
this.
full intention of trying to completely destroy. Right? What were they claiming? We destroyed their ability, to create any nuclear product. Right? They
Yeah,
can't do it anymore. Okay, and everybody else said, "Nah, come on, man. They
yeah.
got other locations. We don't even know
Well,
if you got to their centrifuges. We don't know." Okay.
this is the thing about about Trump. That this is a guy who wants the Nobel Peace Prize. I think that we see from his actions.
He ended 7 wars.
Oh,
And
yeah,
I was
seven,
going, okay, where are they? Right?
7 wars. Yeah,
Some one of
he had a
some
list.
Democratic congressman yesterday said zero, zero. What wars did he end, man? What
He
are
was
we talking
carrying a
about?
list. He was carrying, the Pakistani Bangladesh thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
India. That's right. That was
India.
one.
There was something that we made. They every time we went to Asia, he said, "Oh, you
Yeah,
deserve this." Oh,
yeah.
Cambodia and
Well,
Thailand. Cambodia and
yeah.
Thailand.
But the Pakistani president said, "Well, I'm going to nominate him, right? I'm going to
Yeah,
nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize, right?
yeah,
I didn't see Modi, say, yeah, me too."
yeah. Well, it's just flatter the would-be king. Anyway, all right. So Dan,
Oh, how about the
we've got
Korean? How about the Korean crown?
the Korean crown.
The Korean crown. It
Flatter the
looks like
guy.
it's made
He's
out
got
of cheap stamp steel or something. I don't even know what is. You know, we ought to have that thing evaluated, right? Yeah.
All right, all right. So Dan, all right. So we've come to the end of our show.
Okay.
And so I want to thank you again. Good insight on you're going to have that meeting about Alcaraz.
Oh no,
Um,
it's not about Alcaraz. It's like who do we have
right. But it's
that
post
should be running? Who
Alcaraz.
should we be grooming?
Right.
Who's got the capacity? Who's clean? This is the beginning of that. That's the kind of thing that I did for FADC in the late '70s through the late '80s.
Well, let's see. I'm a little disheartened that you think that that's it for the Filipino community for a while, but maybe not. Maybe Luri will say, "Here's another guy. Here's another person. Here's another gal."
Well, the quiet way to do it is to do a better job of vetting someone and then appointing them to a position for which they don't have to run for election. That's the way it normally gets done. Okay,
Right.
that's when we got appointed to commissions. That was the starting block, right? And by we, I include myself. I got appointed by Feinstein to a couple of different purposes, and even by Moscone, before he was assassinated, to a school board, searching for superintendents of schools. So
Well,
Feinstein appointed me to a public health and mental health commission because of the effect of Proposition 13 with cutbacks to state funding of public health programs.
well, let's see, and that's why I think it's worth talking about with you these issues because you have history about how, and we both grew up here and we know what happened to San Francisco or what we're trying to understand why it is. I think most of the time it's people like moving out, not abandoning the public schools, moving out into the suburbs, moving out to Daly City, moving to Alameda, to Alameda County, to Solano County. That you follow the Filipino population, and it's still kind of centered on Daly City, but there's Union City, there's Vallejo,
Sure.
it's in Alameda. So San
Right.
Francisco, it's not the same like when our fathers came here in the 1930s,
Right.
1920s. All right.
Well,
So
it was concentrated, in San Francisco for a long time. I mean, all the way up
yeah.
until
Oh yeah.
the early '60s, right?
Oh yeah. And
And
I'm wondering now.
Vallejo is one of the older communities where there was a substantial population, even before the war.
Yeah.
But the war even increased that population because of the maritime industry, right?
Yeah.
The building of ships for World War II.
Yeah.
So there's it morphed from an agricultural community, agriculture based, to an industrial based community because of the war. All right.
Yeah.
So that was a lot. Alameda and Oakland, they were both urban sector employment in hotel restaurant, right, in Oakland,
Yeah.
and then Alameda with the farmers. But that's a
Yeah.
small group of people.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Small group of people.
So we'll see what happens. Good luck on the meeting. Report back. We'll talk about it more.
Sure.
Appreciate your email insight. Did you get an email from Jeffrey Epstein? Did you get? Did you get?
If I did,
I got
if I did,
2.3.
I would never admit it. If I did, I would never disclose it. I would never disclose that.
Never. I've got 2.3 million emails in my Gmail. Not one from Jeffrey Epstein. Not one. Not one. I didn't like the guy. I didn't know him. But he was the president of Harvard.
All of those people were always very highly suspect to me. It's that crowd. It's not like the disco crowd of New York. They weren't the Studio 57 crowd. They were more like this, the Studio 68 crowd or something.
Well, they were the elites, and this is what people reacted to. So this is why MAGA is really in on this. This is the MAGA split. It's Epstein emails, and it's the Nazi split, the Nick Fuentes split.
Oh
hey,
man!
Nazi or pedophile? Tell me what's the best? What's the best thing? Nazi or pedophile?
No. Why are you doing a balance thing between Nazi and pedophile? What if they're the same?
Oh, Nazi pedophiles.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
You. That's a mind-blowing concept. The Nazis are the same as the pedophiles, but
let's see how far QAnon wants to take it, right? I mean, that's the scary part. QAnon is still there, dude. We gotta worry. You gotta worry.
QAnon. That's right. The cults are still there.
And I don't know. The FBI has not disclosed whether or not the person who killed Kirk had QAnon connections.
Well, I'll tell you, the Charlie Kirk thing. Every time I do my show, every day something happens. Like I'm in Vancouver, Charlie Kirk gets killed. I'm in Edmonton doing my show in Canada, and the Epstein, the drawing, the birthday book comes out. I'm in Winnipeg, and the ice raid. Kilmar Abrego Garcia happens. I'm in Fresno doing my show, and the Oval Office Zelensky Putin thing happens. I'm in Vancouver, and the Putin summit, and then the Charlie Kirk thing. I mean, and now I'm doing my show on the 19th, which I hope you'll be there. I do my show on the 19th, and now we got this email thing. The email vote probably will happen on the day I do my show.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel like Nancy Pelosi standing behind Donald Trump at the State of the Union address, taking my script and throwing it up and ripping it up and throwing it in the air. That's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to be like. So I hope
you got to learn how to clap like this, though.
Yeah.
No, it's one hand over the other like that.
Yeah. Sort of like that, and also the Trump dance.
Yeah, it's like you're making a hamburger.
Smash burger.
You're making a patty.
A nothing burger.
Okay, a tofu burger. Okay, tofu burger. Yeah.
Dan, I hope to see you on the 19th.
We're gonna be in there, man. We're gonna be in there
at the Marsh, SF Marsh.
Won't you? Yeah.
All right, so like if you need a freebie, you can contact me, and I'll try to do my best to
wait.
Not you. You don't need a freebie. You don't need a freebie.
Just because the title of his show is 69, don't confuse what he means by freebie. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, hey, listen.
Okay, it has nothing to do with hands.
Hey, well, wait a minute. Look,
nothing had to do. No, it wasn't Epstein inspired at all.
No,
okay.
No. It's 6'7". It's the new 6'7". It's my. I'm 6. Everything's 6'7". Everything 6'9". I'm just like for the boomer crowd, 6'9".
Oh, yeah.
It's like 6'7" for the Gen Z crowd.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It means nothing. It means something. Means everything. You got to
What
catch
do we
it.
do when the Gen Zs make it to college age, right? Which is in
Oh,
about
I know.
5
Well, how
years.
about the square root of 6'7"?
We go to Gen AA.
Oh, yeah, right. What do we call them? I
Yeah,
don't
we
know.
got to start all over again.
Let's hope. Let's hope that they have a generation. Let's hope. I'm optimistic. I say they do, but
All right.
you're
All
more
right.
realistic.
We will
All
be
right.
there on the 19th. We'll see you on the 19th.
All right. Thank you very much, Dan. Dan, thank you very much. We'll see you.
Peace out.
Peace out. There he goes, Daniel Phil Gonzalez, my friend, College of Ethnic Studies, Asian American Studies, San Francisco State University, Professor Emeritus. Comes on the show on Friday. We talk about the news. And yes, he will be at the SF Marsh November 19th at 7:30 p.m. Watching me in the audience. I'm threatening to wear my sequins. I'll wear sequins. Sequins? What kind of show is it? Well, it's Emil Nuck 69, but why? Why? Whoa, you're just gonna have to find out. Anyway, so that's the show. This show, Emil Nuck's Takeout. We do this, on the YouTube channel. Tell your friends. It's on the YouTube channel. I'm trying to put the thing we did on the library on where we podcast. We put it on all podcast things, but I've had trouble with the audio. I've had trouble. It's one guy. I'm going to put it on there, and I'm not going to do a live stream of this show. I'm gonna record it though, and I will. If you want to see it, I'm going to put it on my Patreon at some point. So hang tight. If you're saying, oh, I didn't want to go see Emil. He's in San Francisco, and I'm in wherever, fill in the blank. But outside of the Bay Area, because I hope if you're in the Bay Area, you'd come see me. But if you're in, say, Wichita or Cincinnati or Washington State or somewhere, maybe, you'll hang out and, catch me on the Patreon when I put it out there. It will be out there. Anyway, all right. So we have a few days. Watch my little videos I put out. Emil Muck 69 at the SF Marsh, November 19th, 7:30 p.m. People ask me, oh, all right, you talk about that a lot. What is the show? The show is about how I deal with the story of our times. We got a guy in the presidency who is screwing up our country. How do you deal with that? And I think I have a suggestion. I'll tell stories. And maybe it'll help you. Check it out. San Francisco Marsh, 1062 Valencia Street. Get your tickets. Okay, that's it. We end these things with a little meditation. Oh, that's part of my answer. Part of my answer is meditation. To be a quantumist to it all. So meditation, what is the meditation? I like Sharon Salzberg's approach, right? The loving kindness. Can you imagine meditating with Donald Trump? Could work. I mean, loving kindness. That statue with him and Jeffrey Epstein holding hands. They're still in Washington. Can't get rid of it. They're still there. So, Sharon Salzberg, loving kindness. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time.